Somewhere about 200,000 years ago, a man stood on a rock, looked up at a bird, and thought, I want to do that. Not I want to invent fire, not I want to develop agriculture, not I want to stop dying from a paper cut. No, he looked at a pigeon, arguably the stupidest creature with wings, and said, that I want that life. And that single, delusional thought haunted our species for the next 200 millennia. Which, when you think about it, is kind of beautiful, and also absolutely insane. Let's set the scene. Prehistoric man. No tools, no clothes really, definitely no engineering degree. He watches a bird. The bird does nothing impressive. It's just a bird, sitting there, existing, and prehistoric man goes, I'm going to figure out how that works. His cave wife says, Grog, please, we need berries. Grog says, woman, I'm busy inventing aviation. She looks at him. He's standing on a boulder. He's tied some leaves to his arms. He's about to jump. She picks up extra berries. She's seen this before. Grog jumps. Grog falls. Grog is fine mostly, except for his dignity, which is gone forever. And what does Grog do? Does he conclude rationally that humans cannot fly? Does he deduce from the evidence that he is, in fact, not a bird? He does not. He concludes, and this is the part that explains all of human history, he concludes that he simply did not have enough leaves. This is the founding philosophy of aviation, more leaves. And for the next 100,000 years, nobody substantially improved on this plan. We just kept using different materials. Leaves gave way to sticks. Sticks gave way to feathers. Feathers gave way to elaborate feather and wax contraptions worn by men who, I cannot stress this enough, climbed to the top of actual cliffs to test them. You know what a person climbing a cliff in a feather suit is called today? A warning sign. But let's talk about the naysayers, because every genius in history has had them, and the geniuses of early flight had them in particularly savage form. Imagine it's ancient Greece. A man named Daedalus has constructed wings of feathers and wax. He says to the community, I am going to fly. The community says, no, you're not. He says, I have done the math. They say you have done nothing. You have glued bird parts to your arms. He says, it'll work. They say your son is watching. He says the boy will be fine. The boy was not fine. Icarus, of course, flew too close to the sun, the wax melted, and he plummeted into the sea. And for 3,000 years, this story was taught as a cautionary tale about hubris. But nobody ever talks about the fact that the father's wings worked perfectly. Daedalus landed. Daedalus was fine. Daedalus had solved human flight in approximately 1000 BC, and history buried the headline because his teenager didn't listen to him. The real lesson of Icarus isn't, don't fly too high. It's don't let your kids touch the prototype. Now we skip ahead, because for roughly 1,500 years, not a lot happened in aviation. People tried things, people fell, people were laughed at, people died, people were mourned briefly, and then someone else tried the same thing. This is called the scientific method, sort of. Then along came Leonardo da Vinci, Renaissance genius, painter, sculptor, engineer, anatomist, and apparently a man with an almost pathological need to draw flying machines. Leonardo filled entire notebooks with designs for wings, gliders, aerial screws, parachutes, ornithopters, basically every possible way a human could theoretically leave the ground. He designed a machine in the 1480s that would not be successfully built for another 400 years. Did he test any of it? No. Leonardo designed all of it and flew exactly none of it. And historians call him a visionary. Meanwhile, the guy who actually strapped on the feathers and jumped off the barn is described as a failed eccentric. Make it make sense. Leonardo's notebooks also contain, and I love this, a glider design where the pilot lies face down, strapped to the frame, flapping the wings with his arms while steering with his head. His head. The steering mechanism of the aircraft is the pilot's face. Now imagine that's your Uber. Your driver, Leonardo, will arrive in a wooden contraption. He will be steering with his chin. Please rate 5 stars. The 17th and 18th centuries brought a new level of creative delusion. People tried hot air balloons, which did work, and we'll get back to that, but people also tried kites attached to horses, human-powered propeller hats, catapults not for distance, but specifically attempting to aim humans upward, and my personal favorite, a man in France who built wings, attached them to a cannon, fired himself out of it, and was reportedly briefly airborne before everything went wrong in ways that the historical record describes only as unfortunate. Briefly airborne. That's his legacy, his epitaph, a man briefly airborne. I want it on my business card. Now the balloons. The Montgolfier brothers, Jacques and Joseph, two paper manufacturers from France who, as paper manufacturers, should have perhaps been focused on paper, but instead they noticed that smoke rises, had the extraordinary thought, what if we put a bag over the smoke, and inadvertently invented the hot air balloon. The first passengers in a Montgolfier balloon were a sheep, a duck, and a rooster. Think about that. When humanity was deciding who would be first to experience the miracle of manned flight, we sent a duck. We picked the animal that was already good at flying, just to check if the balloon killed things. The sheep was there because someone thought. The sheep is roughly people-shaped, weight-wise. The rooster was there because, honestly, I think someone just really didn't like that rooster. They flew for 8 minutes, landed safely, and were given carrots and feed, presumably as a reward. The rooster had a slightly injured wing, which historians believe was from a kick by the sheep during takeoff, the world's first in-flight altercation. Then the Montgolfier brothers, emboldened, put actual humans in it, and the humans didn't die, and everyone went absolutely berserk. The King of France watched, aristocrats wept, philosophers wrote about the new dawn of humanity. And what did the naysayers say? One prominent French scientist, a real person, a man of letters and learning, reportedly said, "Yes, but what is the use of it?" Benjamin Franklin, who was watching nearby, is said to have replied, "What is the use of a newborn baby?" Which is one of the best things any human being has ever said about anything. Then came the 1800s, and everyone went slightly crazy. There was Otto Lilienthal, the German engineer who built actual gliders that actually worked. He made over 2,000 glider flights. 2,000. He was the first person to prove that controlled gliding was possible. He had data, he had photographs, he had receipts. He also died in a gliding crash in 1896, which is the kind of thing the naysayers immediately brought up. There was Samuel Langley, who received a $50,000 grant from the U.S. government to build a flying machine. He built something called the aerodrome. He launched it twice from a catapult on a houseboat. Both times it went straight into the Potomac River. $50,000, 2 splashes, that's it. And the newspapers destroyed him. One headline read, "Flying machine soars 3 feet and sinks." 3 feet, he got 3 feet. Meanwhile, 9 days later, 2 bicycle mechanics from Ohio with no funding, no grant, no university degree, and no government support flew a plane for 12 seconds at Kitty Hawk. 12 seconds, 120 feet. And they changed the world. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur. Bicycle repairmen who thought, sure, why not planes? They had a combined budget of roughly $1,000. They tested over 1,000 different wing shapes. They built their own wind tunnel. They were told repeatedly it was impossible. Their own father, Bishop Milton Wright, reportedly said, and there is dispute about whether he said this, but I choose to believe he said this, if God had intended man to fly, he would have given him wings. His sons flew. At the family reunion that year, I imagine the seating arrangement was tense. From 1903 forward, humans went absolutely feral with aviation. Within 10 years, planes had guns on them. We couldn't even keep a plane in the air for a minute, and we immediately said, okay, but what if it had a weapon? Within 20 years, Charles Lindbergh flew solo across the Atlantic, 33 hours, alone, in a tiny plane, over the ocean, in the dark. He reportedly hallucinated ghosts in the cockpit from sleep deprivation around hour 25. He landed in Paris. 50,000 people were waiting. He had hallucinated the whole way there, and he still landed it. That's the kind of absolutely unhinged confidence that built the modern world. Then came the jets, then came the sound barrier. Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier in 1947 in a plane called the Glamorous Glennies, named after his wife, because apparently when you're going to attempt to do something that might kill you and destroy the aircraft in the process, you name it after your wife. That's love. That's insane. That's aviation. And then we pointed upward. Past the clouds, past the atmosphere, past everything we'd been aiming at for 200,000 years. Not just up, but out. 1957, Sputnik beeps into orbit, just beeps, does nothing, just beeps, and the entire United States of America has a collective meltdown because a beach ball with a radio is circling the Earth. 1961, Yuri Gagarin goes to space, looks out the window, says the Earth is beautiful, comes home, and becomes the most famous human alive. And then July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin land on the moon. The moon. That thing in the sky that Grog used to stare at from his rock, probably thinking, that's a big rock, standing there in his leaf wings, about to make his 10,000th attempt to get off the ground. From leaves to the moon. In 200,000 years. Which sounds like a long time, but on the cosmic calendar, it's basically a Tuesday afternoon. And here's the part that gets me. When Armstrong stepped onto the moon, the computer guidance system that got him there, the most advanced technology humanity had ever produced, had less computing power than your microwave. Your microwave could have gone to the moon. Your microwave chose not to. That's a choice your microwave made. It just quietly decided, you know what, let the humans do this one. I'll stay here. I'll heat the soup. They need me. So the next time someone tells you your idea is crazy. The next time someone says it can't be done. The next time someone laughs at your dream. Remember Grog standing on his rock, covered in leaves. Absolutely convinced. Completely wrong. But just wrong enough to start something. Because somewhere between Grog's first faceplant and Neil Armstrong's one small step, in the space between ridiculous and miraculous, that's where human beings live. We are, all of us, just Grog. With better materials.